He told me, "You're late, young man," and I thought, oh no, my career is over before it even starts. I told him I was sorry, sir. I had to stop to help someone on the road. For many years, Clint Walker seemed like the ideal Cheyenne horse hero. Valerie, his daughter, has spoken out about what really happened behind closed doors. She's told the horrifying truth about his drinking, the blackouts, and the nights he didn't come back for days. There were the public never knew about hospital stays. Close calls that almost didn't happen, everything. Valerie was scared because she didn't know when her dad would come home alive. This is why Hollywood worked so hard to keep it a secret, keep these secrets hidden. Norm Eugene Walker was born on May 30, 1927, in Connecticut, USA. His mom, Gladys, was from the Czech Republic and had split up with her husband. She married her husband 8 months ago. She had twins, Clint and Lucy, in a small town that was already in bad shape because of the Great Depression. The things were harder because of the broken home. Gladys went from one place to another just to get a job. Clint learned very quickly that life does not wait for you to be grown up. The fact that he was Cherokee made him proud. They should have paid the bills, though. When he was 10, he quit school and got a job everywhere he could. From dirty, loud factories to long, hard jobs on the Mississippi River boats. He was tall and quickly getting stronger. He worked in a factory, on a boat, at a fair, and even as a golf caddy. You didn't get those muscles from going to the gym. He was 6 feet 6 inches when he was old enough to shave. He joined at age 17, not long before the end of World War II in late 1944. Merchant Marine of the United States. There was still war going on. U-boat watched the supply ships across the Atlantic, but Clint still signed up. He didn't see straight ahead. He never went into battle, but he did lead dangerous convoys through enemy territory in rough seas. In 1945, he saw the end of the war and came home with a new idea of who he was. The only thing that changed was that it made him stronger. He went to Brownwood, Texas, and took a job there after leaving the Army in 1946. Welding airplane parts in a forge is a very hard job. His skin hurt from the heat, and the hours went on and on. He kept going, though. The pay was very small, pennies. However, he kept what he could. He had scars on his hands from the sparks. He didn't say anything. He did some work. He went west to Long Beach in 1947. Going to California to find something better. He joined teams on oil rigs that worked with huge steel pipes in the wind and rain. It was safer, but the money was better. Men were burned or crushed. Clint didn't say anything, got there on time, and saved each and every dollar. He skipped meals a lot, but not because he was on a diet. The rent came first. His hands aged faster than his face. He stopped in 1948. He moved to Las Vegas and got a job as a doorman at the Sands Hotel. He stood at the door, 6'6", was as quiet as stone and stood taller than Sinatra and Dean Martin. In the bar every night it buzzed. Clint was in the middle of all the chaos, keeping the peace, keep drunk people from getting too close. A Hollywood agent saw him one night. The face, the body, and the way they stand. They didn't ask him if he was ready to play. They just asked if he would like a shot. In 1950, when the Korean War started, Clint signed Get Back to the merchant fleet. He was 23 and was transporting goods across risky waters once more. Storms hit his ship, and it almost sank twice. One storm they were almost sucked under by the Korean coast. He was different after that night. He began to think about what was important, about what would happen next if he lived. When he got home, he was ready to leave the danger behind. It was 1954 when star agent Henry Wilson found him. Wilson was the person who found Rock Hudson. He liked big guys with looks that were ready for the camera, and Clint had both. Clint was with him for gave him a Western script and told him to read for the screen test. Clint had never acted before. It didn't matter. It was his voice, his body, and his quiet power. It worked. Wilson signed him and changed his name to Clint Walker. Within a few days, Warner Brothers agreed to do something. Clint moved to Los Angeles in 1955. They didn't right away put him in front of a camera. He was first sent to Cowboy school. It wasn't just for fun. He stayed for hours riding horses and learning how to fall, shoot, fight, and stay alive for the camera. They trained with real stuntmen, got hurt and bled, but they always got back up. He was used to danger and heat. He learned that at that factory in Texas, both the rig in Long Beach and the ship off the coast of Korea led here. When Cheyenne When it aired on September 20, 1955, everything changed. In his first show, 10 million people watched Mountain Fortress overnight because it showed a snowy mountain fight that looked so real. Clint stood up. Be yourself against thieves, cool and dangerous. People hadn't seen a Western like this before. This on TV. It was new to have an hour-long structure. The size made me think of movies, and Clint, the face of it, became tall, quiet, and relentless. The show kept taking from his real life. In 1956's The Northern Story, he played a scout living in the wild rivers and rough land. Behind the scenes, they shot in frozen Utah rivers. Some of the players got sick. Clint didn't move. He had been on icy waves. Before. He did his own tricks while wet and cold, and cameras caught it. Something sincere. The audience felt it. Some people noticed, but not everyone at the company did a good job. Warner Brothers first thought his deep baritone voice was too much for TV. In the first 2 shows, they dubbed him with someone else. Fans didn't like it. Letters poured in. People were very angry. They switched by the 3rd episode, The Dark Rider, to hear Clint's real voice. The change was clear right away. That voice joined his fame, and the uproar from fans was one of the first times that anger from the public changed a studio's mind. In When the Border Patrol was being filmed in 1956, a stuntman was thrown from a horse and was badly hurt. Clint wouldn't keep shooting. He left the set and asked for better safety gear. Warner Brothers held up, but he didn't move. The pressure finally paid off. The show went on, but with tighter rules. What Clint pushed for turned into a model. It became safer to do horse stunts across the business. He did it for no reason. He only didn't want other people to get it hurt. That year, the show joined Warner Brothers' CXS New Wheel format, switching between shows like Maverick. Not as many shows each season, but they were all bigger. In The Duel at Sundown in 1957, Clint fought 3 shooters in just 1 take. There will be no cuts or second chances. He pulled the trigger and shot, hitting his targets. It took less than 30 seconds to finish the scene. People went crazy. Then his pay went up to $1,500 per show, which was a huge amount for that time. More than 7 Cheyenne had 108 episodes over 4 seasons, which was a lot for a show in that field. Clint Walker grew up poor in Illinois, served in the war, and now works in a factory. Worker with burned hands to the tall western border of the United States. It never took a double for Clint Walker to make danger look real. In The Long Rope, aired on September 26, 1960. His body gave out from the extreme heat. They were tired, but not before they had to hand-herd 200 horses across the desert. The desert in Arizona. There are no tricks or stand-ins. People could feel the sweat, look at the dust, and believe it all the time because it's real. That one Cheyenne moved into ABC's top 10 and stayed there after that show. It wasn't just do something. It had to do with the truth. Having to go to the hospital because of that truth, but it changed the history of Western TV. In the years after, before the War Wagon finale, things didn't calm down. Walker was making movies at night in 1962. With scenes of Apache raids that felt more like a war zone than a set in cold desert wind. In one scene, his horse pushed and threw him hard. He broke a rib when he hit something, but he didn't stop. Production, he kept going even though it hurt. That wound spread added a raw edge to the show that fans will never forget. It helped keep the show's numbers sky high right up until the end. This show took place. Even getting hurt helped the story. Gold Hill in 1959 wasn't so much about there are more broken systems than broken bones. Walker's Cheyenne did more than just defeat bad guys. He found a shady mining scheme that looked a lot like the real-life strikes that were happening in Texas at the time. People weren't used to seeing cowboys deal with labor issues and dishonest businessmen. Sheriffs. But this show hit home. It really did make people angry. The writers didn't make up the comparisons, but they were bold. They looked into them. It was more than just fun.no longer. It was protest with a Western edge. Then The Lone Gunman came in .1960. The ending was meant to be a knife fight, but the script was cut. So Walker made do. He cut ropes with a real blade, and there was a moment so sudden and intense that the show was nominated for an Emmy. There was no planning, it was all out of the blue. That time to think about what action could look like on TV changed because of his feat. The critics take note. People in the crowd wouldn't stop talking. That rope wasn't just cut. It was on image of breaking TV rules. Clint Walker crossed over into guns for The Man from Bod. It wasn't just a merger of two characters. It was 50 off real horseback riding in the wilds of New Mexico, just like the movie asked for. Not any green screens or quick links. And that one promise to be real changed the show into a game. Both shows got a lot of new viewers. It showed that the Cheyenne weren't just following the Western trend. It was what drove it. And Clint Walker did more than just act. He was a living hero. He brought that same level of passion to the big screen. Fort Dobbs gave Walker a $500,000 check in 1958. Chance to be a movie star. Warner Brothers didn't think he could do it. But by the end of during the shoot, he did all of his own fight scenes, chases, and stunts. Brought everyone to faith. He played Gar Davis, a wanted criminal who was charged through Wyoming's Rocky Badlands, which helped the movie make more than $2 million at the box office. That was a great performance for a Western with a small budget. Walker wasn't going to hide behind doubles. Not with his 66-inch frame, and life is tough. After a year, in Yellowstone Kelly, he was pushed even more tougher. There was a huge bear attack in the movie that wasn't completely fake. Even though the bear was trained, its moves weren't controlled. A claw made just for the prop tore through his outfit and really scratched Walker's arms. He didn't move. In charge of Gordon Douglas, I wanted the scene to be about life and death. Walker made sure that it did. Even the team became tense, but the camera kept rolling. It wasn't a show, it was staying alive. But a long time ago, in 1956, Walker stood still in front of the 10 Commandments. In that sea of 15,000 people, no one saw him. Plushies besides Seal be a deal. The directors saw him working out on the beach and they gave him a part as a Sardinian guard on the spot. That 1 second spent with Charlton H changed everything. Warner Brothers quickly moved when they saw him. That single show up became Cheyenne. That small scene turned into a starting point. In 1966, Night of the Grizzly made things even better. It wasn't a trick double fighting a fake bear. Clint Walker fighting a trained 600-pound one in a cold Idaho cabin set across 12 takes with real scratch marks on the film. It felt like every second was dangerous. Because of the night shoot with the bear and the scars, a low-budget movie made the movie a fan favorite. It wasn't great. It was real and better. Walker then joined the Dirty Dozen in 1967. He came up with a battle-hardened sergeant, but a grenade went off while they were shooting in England. It burned. The group was scared when he cut off his eyebrows. Filming had to stop for a medical checkup, but Walker demanded that they finish. Picture. That night, the movie made $12 million and became one of the best war movies of the decade. But there was a man behind that box office number who didn't back down, even though there was fire close to his face. They were born on May 24, 1971. Mammoth mountain skiers were going down a steep run when everything went wrong. He lost my balance and fell 400 feet down the icy slope. He hit something with one of his ski sticks. Into the snow first. When he hit it, the pole went 5 inches into his body. Chest. It made a hole in the sac around his heart, which led to cardiac tamponade, a disease that is fatal when the heart is squeezed from the inside, the pressure drops. He was able to shout once more before everything went away. By the time ski patrol put him on a rescue sled, his body was going blue. Doctors rushed him 45 miles away to a small hospital in Bishop. It was impossible to find a pulse or blood pressure. He was said to be dead. After that, it was strange. While walking by the room, another doctor saw a small faint. His chest was moving. Breathe. That was enough. He was rushed to the basement. Where there wasn't a surgery room, no anesthesia, and not much tools right away. They cut him open. Dr. David Sheffield will talk for 2.5 hours. And Dr. George Brown worked by hand to get rid of the blood clots and get his heart beating again. Heart. They didn't even know if he could be saved. It was clear that he was dead. 4 minutes, but his huge chest and unusually high strength made him a chance to win. Their touch brought the heart back to life. At that time, Clint afterward, he said he wasn't in his body. He was above it all and watched everything. From above. He went to see the doctors. He was calm, awake, and more alive than he had in a long time. Ever had. There was peace, not fear. He thought he knew things that no one else did. Been hidden all along. That's when a pull came, not out of pain but for a reason. There was something unfinished that called him back. So he came back. After 8 days, Clint Walker got up and left that hospital on his own. He was living and he didn't have any brain damage. He stayed at UCLA Medical Center for 3 more days and then went home. After 2 months, he was back on set riding horses and acting. Scenes for the Hawk of Bakers. The scar on his chest was stitched up 20 times. The doctors said they were able to survive that kind of damage in that place. That being the case was hardly ever heard of. They said he was a miracle in medicine. Fans from all over the world thanked him for telling their faith story. He told them faith and thanksgiving gave him the strength to get back. But that kind-of pain doesn't go away completely. By then, Clint had been through a lot. Point. In the 1960s, he played the tough cowboy on Cheyenne, but he wasn't seen on TV yet. He was getting too tired. He smoked 2 packs a day just to get through the 16-hour shoots. It hurt his lungs and voice. He had to stop and breathe a few times. He was made by the exits, angry and shaking. He finally quit. He thought that choice had helped him. Get through the accident. Giving up smoking wasn't the only hard thing. With the end of Cheyenne in 1963, sadness set in. He was stuck as the cowboy. Not anything else. The fame didn't fill the void. He thought she really wants to leave Hollywood for good and go live on a ranch in Montana. His dream was to live a quiet life, but life kept pulling him back, even though he didn't want to. In private emails and few interviews, he said that drinking had become another crutch for him. Especially since he got divorced. It was rough at the Las Vegas shows. He drank whiskey every night. It was hard to deal with the city, the pressures, and being alone. Valerie, his daughter, later talked about how the drinking hurt the family. Clint seemed strong on the outside, but he was really breaking down on the inside. By the mid-1970s, he was back to focused on getting better. He didn't want to be just a shell of the person people saw on TV. It looked like there were darker shadows in the background too. It wasn't just a myth that Hollywood had a dark side. It was a real couch for casting. Henry Wilson, an agent, had made sick deals with stars. Roles for gifts. Clint never said it happened to him, but he knew it was talked about. Wilson's firm, the movies he's worked on with Tab Hunter and Rock Hudson, and the people he knows. All of it made Clint feel uncomfortable. When you stayed at the Sands Hotel, you were right in the middle of everything. He didn't let down his guard. The paranoia got worse after the crash. He went to therapy. He said that he always felt like someone or something in Hollywood was watching him and ready to use him. The accident may have made his heart open, but it also made a wound that would never fully heal. He cared about his health and kept his body and mind clean. But that close call with death changed the way he saw everything. Fame, life, and people. He was more than just a cowboy on TV. Someone said he was dead, cut him open without anesthesia, brought him back by hand, and then went back to work like nothing had happened. But there was a change. He rarely talked about how heavy it was for him, but you could tell by the way he lived afterward. Stronger, quieter, and slower, but different. In Illinois on September 5, 1948, Clint Walker married Verna Garver. He was 21 years old at the time. It wasn't the fancy wedding that you might think of for Hollywood stars. Away from the bright lights of Las Vegas, it happened in silence. He wasn't well known yet. He was just a tall, striking man trying to figure out what to do with his life after the war. He had worked as a bouncer and told stories about being in the merchant navy. She was born on April 16, 1927, in Union County, Illinois, and was the same age as her. She came from a simple, close-knit family with 3 sisters. Her family was worried about how fast the relationship was moving. Vera was interested in Clint's stories about the sea, storms, and staying alive, though. They got married quickly, not because it was frowned upon, but because they both thought it was the right thing to do. Valerie Jean Walker, their daughter, was born on May 15, 1950. At that point, Clint had started looking for acting jobs and was going from one to the next. When he got the lead in Cheyenne in 1955, everything changed. Their whole world changed in an instant. Clint often went on long shoots in Utah or Arizona. Valerie wasn't left behind, they stayed close to her. In 1957, Clint taught her at home while the movies were being filmed in other places. Back then, that didn't happen very often. Most families in Hollywood left their kids in LA and let the schools take care of them. But Clint didn't want his daughter to be caught on camera or stuck in a fake studio classroom. He wanted to keep her safe and grounded. When Valerie was in her teens, she was pretty much on her own. The attention wasn't important to her. She was more interested in planes than in parties. Clint stood by her without a doubt. Valerie began flying lessons when she was only 16 years old, in 1966. That didn't happen often. Most girls weren't even taught how to drive a stick shift, let alone how to fly by themselves. But Clint paid for everything. Valentine flew a Cessna 150 by herself in 1968. Her flight hours were already adding up, and she was only 18 years old. Taking jobs as a crop duster helped her pay for school. In her first year, she worked over 100 hours. In the same year, her parents secretly split up. The split in 1968 wasn't in the news. There were no incidents, court cases, or tell-all interviews. It was just a slow flow. Clint's long takes and growing fame had made a space between them. Vera turned down alimony. She stayed on her own. Clint never gave up on Valerie. After 20 years of marriage, they split up, but they still respected each other, and Valerie kept going up. She was showing other people how to fly by the early 1970s. More than 50 people learned from her. Valerie joined the LAPD's aerial police unit in 1972 and flew helicopters over Los Angeles from 1973 to 1975. She was neither a pilot nor a police officer. She was one of the first women to do either job. It was not easy to do the job. She flew low to follow suspects and avoid getting hit by male cops who didn't want her there. But she gained their respect every time. Hundreds of hours were turned in. Dozens of lives were saved. Africa came next. Val took a job flying in the bush in Botswana and South Africa in 1974. She flew DC-3s into small towns that were far away and landed on rough dirt runways where animals were all around. When a whole herd of elephants stopped her runway, she had to wait in the cockpit for hours by herself. When the engine broke down or there was a dust storm, she had to act quickly or people would die. That part of her life showed something. She was better than good. She had no fear. When she got back to the U.S., it was another big step forward. Valerie Walker was hired by Western Airlines on March 8, 1976, as the first woman pilot in her class. She flew DC-10s on trips that went across the country. The flight business wasn't ready. Some male pilots made fun of her, tested her, and tried to make her lose confidence, but she kept her cool. She didn't argue back. She flew away. The system had to notice her because of how professional she was, how skilled she was, and how calm she was under pressure. She had no plans to make history. She wished she could fly. She had more than 20,000 flying hours by the time she quit Delta Airlines in 2005. She had flown 737s, 727s, 767s, and 737s. But retiring didn't mean taking it easy. After September 11, she made a tool called unfalling to teach flight crews how to protect themselves. It was a mix of martial arts and flight tactics. Over 1,000 crew members were taught by Valerie. She didn't want anyone to notice her. She just saw a problem and found another way to fix it. Valerie talked about her father's impact in an interview she gave when she was 75 years old. Clint Walker lived through a terrible accident in 1971. He fell off the ski lift and a pole went through his heart. He was thought to be dead for 2 hours until a doctor saw weak signs of life. He told Valerie about a time when he felt like he wasn't in his body while he was recovering. This experience haunted him for years. He was different after that close call with death. It also changed her. From those talks, she made emergency flight drills, using what he had told her to save other people's lives. Clint's path wasn't easy. During the 1960s, drinking became a bad thing. He drank whiskey after long days of shooting. He would disappear for days at a time. Valerie later talked about how scary it was to wait for him to come home because she didn't know what kind of shape he'd be in. Blackouts happened, and there was a crash in 1967 that was so close to killing someone that someone had to stay in the hospital. Family and friends helped out without making a fuss. There was nothing in the news. Clint always came to work, but it cost him a lot. In the 1950s and 1960s, he smoked a lot, almost 2 packs a day. The producers did not know. He didn't tell anyone because he was afraid it would ruin his job. He didn't quit for good until the 1980s, when he got a lung infection. After that, he talked about it in public and told other people not to make the same mistakes. There was a different kind of fight before Cheyenne. Clint was found by Henry Wilson in the early 1950s. Wilson was the same Hollywood agent who got Rock Hudson and Tab Hunter their big breaks. Wilson called Clint Jet Norman and tried to make him into a hot guy, but Clint didn't like it. He didn't like how the attention was turned around. He felt like he was being used by a system that relied on young artists. He quickly cut ties with Wilson, but the shame stayed. In the end, Valerie said that her dad never really got over feeling like a pawn in someone else's game. In 1974, he got married for the second time. They got married on May 26, just a few weeks after meeting. Their name is Giselle Hennessy. They were together for 20 years. She wasn't working. She liked peace and quiet, helped him with his work, and stayed out of the spotlight. Clint was very sad when she died of cancer on January 1, 1994. She was 65 years old. He stopped being seen in public for months so he could grieve alone. Clint got married again in 1997. Susan Cavallari became his last friend. In Grass Valley, California, on March 7, they got married. Clint told her the truth. He told her all about the accident he had in 1971, the scars it left, and what it did to him while they were hiking on their honeymoon. Susan was there for him when he was sick, old, and when he wasn't famous and things were quiet. She was always with him. He was 90 years old when he died on May 21, 2018. Heart failure with fluid buildup was the cause. Valerie told the AP that he died with the same toughness he had while he was alive. While he was alive, Clint was in more than 50 westerns. Cheyenne ran from 1955 to 1962 and made a name for himself. At the 2025 Western Film Festival, he was given a high award. The Hollywood Walk of Fame still has his name on it.